If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart and Tommy Beer. Let's get to it, New York.
Okay, so it is the offseason, and while it's often the time where we talk about players who are not on the Knicks, like we've done for most of this podcast, talking about the finals, talking about Chris Paul and Kristaps Porzingis, I want to do a segment where we catch up with some of the Knicks that we have currently on the team as they enjoy this offseason. So first, Jalen Brunson was at Rucker Park last week representing the Knicks and the NBA Players Association to kick off summer basketball at the hallowed ground. Brunson said this about playing for the Knicks in his first season in New York.
There's no fan base better than the Knicks fan base, and just playing in Madison Square Garden, man, it's electric every single night, and especially during the playoffs, it takes us to the whole nother level. So it's the best place to do it.
So there, Brunson calling Madison Square Garden, playing for the Knicks, the best place to be. Meanwhile, Mitchell Robinson's having a good old time this offseason as well. He won Best Interior for his entry into the Atlantic City truck meet that happened this past weekend. He was also seen on video riding a mechanical bull, which was pretty crazy to see a 7'1" guy on a mechanical bull. But he seemed to be having a good old time, Mitch being the country boy himself. So congrats to Mitchell Robinson. I know how much he loves his trucks, winning best interior for his entry in the Atlantic City truck meet. And hasn't been all just fun and games this summer. Knicks also working on their game. So video shown of R.J. Barrett working with the likes of Andrew Nembhard and Paul Reed working out in Orlando. Emmanuel Quickly, who ended his season injured. Remember, he injured his ankle in Miami against the Heat. Ironically, he's in Miami, which is where he normally works out. He's posted a video of him working out, so he seems to be back healthy, I assume, on that front. So first on Brunson, him talking about being New York being the best place to be. Like, I thought this was interesting because the Knicks, for however many years, have been talking about trying to bring other stars. I'm not going to say stars anymore because they have I would argue they have 2 stars now, but they definitely have, like I said, a championship cornerstone now in Jalen Brunson. So now the talk's been about adding other stars to the collection that they have right now. Hearing Brunson talk about the Knicks, do you think that other players will look at Brunson as a guy who could be an effective recruiter to bring guys to New York? Will players look at what Brunson did in this postseason and say, you know what, that's a guy I want to play with?
I think so, because players know better than anyone. Better than the media. If you notice, it wasn't current players that Jokic had played against that saying that Jokic was,
stat padding. That is very true.
Because they're forced to acknowledge because they have to match up against these guys. I think Brunson showing because the hardest thing to do is get over that. A lot of teams can make the postseason, but it's another thing to win a round. It's another thing to close out tough postseason games. And Brunson showed that he has the ability to do that. And there aren't that many players. And again, it's something we talked about during the Knicks postseason run. Really great players, and this is any sport, baseball, football. We'll use baseball as an example. They hit the same, they'll post a similar batting average in the postseason as they do in the regular season. Those are great postseason players because the pitching's better, the pressure's ratcheted up. So if you can match the stats on the back of your baseball card, look at Jeter's career numbers weren't exponentially better during the postseason than the regular season, but the fact that they were similar highlighted just how good Jeter was compared to his peers when the games mattered most. And that's what we had with Brunson. Again, 2 players this postseason. Miami's played the Bucks, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Nuggets. 2 players averaged more than 30 points per game against Miami. Nikola Jokic and Jalen Brunson. So that speaks to just how they've shut down everybody. So again, I say that to say Brunson's emergence this regular season, and then more importantly in the postseason, was not lost on important players. And as we talked about a couple weeks ago, him being named to the USA team, again, he'll get these kind of bona fides. He'll probably make the All-Star team next year, maybe make an All-NBA team, which may or may not work in the Knicks' favor. Something to keep an eye on as we look 2 years ahead towards his free agency. Would mean the Knicks would be eligible for the Supermax. Story for another day. But again, as the national recognition grows, that that'll play a part. But again, players know that if you have a team with Jalen Brunson, if you consider yourself a star, that's why when we talked about the Embiid situation, like in any other scenario in the past, I'd be really hesitant to roll the dice on a guy like Embiid, to give up the farm and pay him a ton of money for a player like Embiid. But when those relatively small, where you have Brunson on this cheap contract, so you can strike while the iron's hot, that type of thing. And I think those, for that reason, other players recognize as well that Brunson's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA can be really cliquey at times, and a lot of it can be, your exposure to certain guys and kind of where they are in their careers. I think Jalen Brunson could be seen now as a budding star in this league, maybe a budding superstar in this league, given what he did in the postseason, because that is the biggest stage we have in basketball. Like, it's part of the reason why Randall being a number one I thought was ever going to work, because he is not that great in the postseason, and that's the most people are going to see from him. It doesn't matter if he's having 25 and 10 in the regular season. People are going to see, okay, what's happening in the postseason, and we've now seen twice him struggle. Like, Brunson being the face and the ambassador for what the Knicks are trying to build has a lot more credence, because they see this guy's a dog. Like anybody who watched and paid attention to the postseason, which is everybody who follows basketball, because this is when everybody's paying attention, who maybe weren't paying attention to the Knicks as much during the regular season, saw that this guy was not just playing okay. This guy was playing at an even higher level that he was in the regular season, and during the regular season, he was having a great year. So you look at that and say, wow, that the Knicks got really something going with this Jalen Brunson guy. So I think the fact that he can speak to the Garden being a great place to play, I think is also important. Like, I don't think that Julius Randle also could ever speak about the Knicks fans and MSG and Madison Square Garden being great, because I don't think he loves playing there. I think he likes playing for Tom Thibodeau. I think he likes playing under Leon Rose and Worldwide West. I think he likes living in New York. But we know his relationship with the fans is frosty. Some of it on him, some of it also on some of these idiotic fans who are doing stuff like writing on his name on outside of the Garden, whatever. So Brunson being that guy is important, because I think that he's got carte blanche with the fans. He's embraced Madison Square Garden. He's embraced the city, and he has the credentials now, the postseason credentials, to stand up and speak about what it is to be a Knick and how special it is. And I think that he can be an effective recruiter for the Knicks. So I think that that's an important thing for the Knicks that happened this year, that Brunson stepped up the way he did.
Yeah, no doubt. He's emerged as the face of the franchise, and that's really, really important. And it was JJ Redick actually on his podcast talked about Jokic is the ideal kind of face of the franchise leader, locker room leader, because he's so unselfish and only cares about winning and doesn't care. He said, if you want to give it the MVP, give it the MVP. I want to win the championship. And some people have knocked him. He doesn't care enough about stuff to get multiple interviews and talk trash on the internet, like yada, yada, yada. Smart front offices, smart coaching staff. We talked about heat culture. Right. Those, you want somebody who, when you step in between the lines, plays the right way, and says the right things off the court. Doesn't make headlines for headline's sake. And that's what the Knicks have in Brunson, which is, in addition to his, skills on the court, is just as important when you talk about a guy that's going to be the face of a really important franchise and league.
So we got RJ getting working in Orlando. We got IQ getting working in Miami. What are some things you want to see both of those guys work on coming into this next season with them? RJ in year 4, Emmanuel quickly in year 3, I believe, or is that 4 and 5?
Yeah, but Barrett 5, IQ.
Barrett 5, IQ 4. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but RJ just needs to become more efficient shooter. That's obviously, whether that's tweaking his mechanics to become a more effective 3-point shooter, or getting to spots on the floor that he's only taking uncontested threes as opposed to 4 shots. Becoming a better finisher. Unfortunately, a lot of the same stuff we talked about 12 months ago that RJ would need to work on, that we didn't see in the 2022-23 regular season, but then saw for a stretch there when he played by far the best basketball of his career, starting game 3 of that Cavs series to game 5 of that Miami series. That was an 8-game stretch where he averaged 22, 5, and 3, and I think slashed 49, 38, 74, somewhere in those kind of parameters, and that was the ceiling for RJ Barrett. So it's really an interesting player. I wrote a post today about a potential trade for OG Anunoby that would involve RJ Barrett, and the response has been outrageously about how I'm an idiot and how RJ's great and you can't give up on a player. Meanwhile, they're saying RJ does everything better than OG, even though OG's a second team all defensive player.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Love Knicks Twitter, but they won't be the first fan base to base their reaction solely. How can a guy be valuable? He only averages 16 points. He can't be that good. So, whereas RJ averages more, even though when you look at their shot attempts and yada yada yada. But RJ can be obviously has plenty of areas for improvement. Basically, watch tape of what he did to succeed in the postseason. But again, part of that was due to the fact of game plan scheming, where the Heat basically dared him. They said, "We're not going to beat up. We're not going to." Brunson beat us. So and RJ took advantage, stepped in and stepped up as well he should. So can he continue kind of on that momentum going forward?
Yeah, I mean, with RJ, it's hard. I echo those sentiments. Like I'm watching these clips, and I'm looking to see if Drew Hanlen's anywhere to be found, and I'm not even sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing if Drew Hanlen's anywhere to be found, because he has been his shooting coach for his entire career, even dating back to Duke, I believe, and we've seen RJ be a very, at best, inconsistent shooter. So. And there were no jump shots being done in those clips, by the way, also, which was not alarming. Obviously, this is a 10-second clip. But I'm like, all right, I want to see, is he improving this shot? Because that to me is the thing that he needs to improve on. And even particularly, because I think maybe it's a bad assumption, but I assume a lot of guys get up, a certain amount of threes and uncontested threes during their workouts or during the offseason. I really think RJ needs to, like I've said, I would lock him in a gym with Jimmy Butler and make him just copy and paste Jimmy Butler's game to his game. I think they have similar body types. They have similar strengths. And if RJ could get a mid-range game, a reliable mid-range game, because to me, Barrett is he's not a competent shooter with any kind of contest on his shots. So Butler's so great in the mid-range because he can shoot over smaller guys. He can shoot contested shots in the mid-range. And to me, Barrett, in the best shooting season he had, which was the second year, he incorporated the mid-range game into his game. It's just disappeared since then. So I want to see him get back to that mid-range game. So I think that would be important. And then for Emmanuel Quickley, I want to see Emmanuel Quickley. I don't know if so much for him it's necessarily something to work on. You ain't going to work on everything, but he improved so much. But I think continuing to kind of fill out still, continuing to get stronger. I thought in the playoffs, he looked weak, and I don't mean weak as in he's a weak player, but I just thought Cleveland was able to kind of just put a bigger guy like Harris LeVert on him and kind of just push him around and bully him around. And in Miami, we know how they play, kind of same thing, put some bigger guys on him, bully them around, push him around, and he just never seemed to get into a rhythm. And it was interesting that the thing we saw him doing with strength work was the picture that was posted. So I think that may be the biggest thing for him is just continue to work on the body, continue to work on the conditioning. He did a great job that last season. I think he can continue to get stronger, continue to get bigger, and be ready to face that playoff physicality next go around. I think that he'll be in great shape. And finally, what do you think of Mitchell Robinson's rodeo skills? Again, you got a 7'1" guy riding on a mechanical bull, not something I've ever seen before. What do you rate him out of 10 on the mechanical bull riding for Mitchell Robinson?
I think I'd give him a solid. I'll do this. I'll say his. I'll give him the same grade as his free throw percentage this season. So that's below 50, below 5. Let's go with that.
Yeah, he wasn't that graceful going down, which, surprise. Mitchell Robinson not being graceful going down. We see that during basketball games too. Luckily, he's not landing on hardwood. He's landing on, obviously, a lot of cushioning. But it's good to see Mitchell Robinson enjoying himself because he seems like a fun guy, but he seems to also take things very hard. We saw oftentimes, I'm not getting the ball enough, going to Snapchat. So I actually like to see when Mitch is kind of having fun, because sometimes it seems like a guy who can quickly kind of not fly off the handle, but can quickly kind of get a little angry and let that be known. So I thought it was good to see Mitch Robinson in that light. And shout out to his truck. I mean, I saw the interior of the truck. It was looking nice. I follow Mitch. I follow all these guys on the Knicks, and I've seen his plethora of trucks, and He's got the big wheels on him, and I don't know. I guess I'm assuming he's living upstate. I don't know if he's able to get those things over to New York. I mean, he got him to Atlantic City, so I guess he probably does have some of them in New York. I've seen him riding them in Louisiana. He's a big country boy. There's no doubt about that. So shout out to Mitch Robinson for the best interior award, and shout out to him on the let's say so mechanical bull riding efforts there.
Yes, but work on your free throws, Mitch.
Yes,
please. Need to
please.
work on. Put up on your tippy toes. A little bit of arc on the ball. Let's. I don't even care if he misses free throws next season. I just want to see, as long as the ball has a chance to go in by going above the rim at any point in the shots arc, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I'll consider that success.
It is wild to watch Nikola Jokic play and see like how many times the ball hits the rim and goes in because of how much of a soft touch he shoots with.
Amazing.
And then you see Mitchell Robinson shoot free throws, and it's just like, I mean, it's like a missile. It's like a missile right to the basket. I mean, you think he's gonna break the rim if he doesn't get the ball over the rim because of how hard he's shooting the ball. So yes, Mitch, please definitely work on those free throws as well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest podcast ventures. Links will be in the descriptions. And as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you in our next video.